Hey, what's going on, ROM Hackers? I'm Sasyata, and today I'm going to be showing you how to make your own map in Pokemon HeartGold and SoulSilver, but this also can work for Pokemon Platinum too, so let's get started. So the first thing you're going to want to do is go to Trifindo's Pokemon DS Map Studio, PDSMS for short. You're going to want to go to this link here, which I'll post in the description, and come down to this Pokemon DS Map Studio 2.2, and we're going to just click on that and download. And we're going to open what folder it's in. So we're going to bring up the folder, we're going to click extract all. I'm assuming you're on Windows, so just hit extract all. It'll take a second. We're going to need one other thing. So let's go over to this website here, which is on Project Pokemon, and it's the G3D CVTR. We're going to need this file to convert your 3D model into an NSBMD, which is a file format that the DS understands. So we're going to download this file as well. And we're going to also extract all for this, and Control X, and we're going to paste it in Pokemon DS Map Studio under bin, converter, and then Control V. So when you want to run it, go into bin, and then double click on Pokemon DS Map Studio. So we're going to go File, New Map, and just say yes. And now you're going to want to click on which game you want this for. So just accurately check which one. So for me, I'm doing HeartGold, and there's a bunch of different tile set folders. These are basically the different textures you can use to make whatever map you want. And so if you want to insert a map that looks cohesive with whatever game you're using, you want to use the same game's tile set. So these were all made by the community, and they were done by ripping tiles from different areas of the game, and you can pick on whichever one you want. I really hate HeartGold and SoulSilver tiles, so I've always used the black and white ones, and I will link to you a Discord server that has more tiles for you to use. So now once we have our tiles here, we're going to want to select mostly one of the smart drawings to get started. So the way smart drawing works is very simple actually. It makes your life extremely easy. So pick any 1x1 tile here. What we're going to do is we're just going to draw some shape. We're going to fill it in. And we are going to click on the smart drawing, and you'll notice that this yellow arrow has been selected. I'm going to left click, and boom, it's filled in an entire area for me. And so this automates most of the process of making maps, but you'll notice that this height is off. And so what you'll want to do is go into this bluish looking tab here, and you're going to want to open up the height view. And so you need to select manually the heights for each of these tiles. But it's an easy way to do this. You can just draw on the outline. So we're going to include all the green tiles that are grass with left click, and then we're going to middle click inside, and it's going to fill it in. So middle click is always fill in this application. And then boom, there you go. There's your first part of your map. All right, so the next thing to do is to fill it in with whatever you like, and you can choose from a variety of different tiles. I can just middle click to make this look nice. And have a grassy patch, for instance. But you'll notice that I have these weird holes here, and we don't want that. So a good thing to do is to use multiple layers for these maps. So if I want to undo, I can just hit Control Z, or I can click this undo button, and it's this application is very user friendly. Like most of your normal hotkeys work. So we're going to click on a different layer over here, and then we're going to go back into the flat view, and we're going to middle click over here, and it's going to fill in the entire area. So if you want to check what each layer by itself looks like, you can just go over here on the sidebar and middle click, and you'll notice that I've only selected this layer here. So if you right click and scroll around, you can move it angled around, and if you want to go side to side, it's left click. So if I middle click on this again, it brings back all the other layers. And now you'll notice that since we have 2 layers in this, we have a nice seamless transition between these 2 things. So another thing we want to keep track of is the number of polygons in the bottom, and this is maxed out, I think, at 1200 per map. So you'll want to make sure that you're not going too high on your poly count. One thing we can do is make a couple trees. So let's go ahead and put some trees down. Let's do that on a new layer. Still on height 0 though, so I can make a tree border. And let's go ahead and add some more trees. And they bled onto another map, that's okay. We can just take the eraser tool and just draw over them, and they get erased. Boom, now we have some nice looking Gen 5 trees, which is exactly what we like to see. We can also do different kinds of trees. We could put some other ones here. And you'll notice that each of these trees has a different model associated with it. And you can actually check out all of these different models by clicking this tile list editor. And so you can scroll through here and you can look at different properties of each model. So like for instance, this model name, this is an OBJ file. So this is like a 3D model and there's different types of textures associated with it. So if we replace these textures, we actually replace what the tree looks like. And so you can make your own sorts of tiles just by editing current tiles by putting different textures on them or recoloring them. So for instance, if I want to look at the sandy tile, it's this tile texture called Michi, and it uses this PNG. And so I can add a new texture here, and I can go through my documents and find any PNG that I want to replace it with. And so you can add your own types of textures, and it's pretty cool. You can also look at the material editor here, and this will show you a bunch of different materials and their corresponding PNGs, and you'll see they have a material name, a texture name, and a palette name. If you want to make your own textures, it's a totally different monster. I'm not going to go over that today. So let's just go ahead and finish off this map with a couple more details. One thing we're going to want to do is have some stairs so we can get up this little hill here. So I'm going to go over here. I'm going to select this left-hand stair. So I'm going to add a couple tiles here, and you'll notice something bad is going to happen, and it's something called Z-clipping, or Z-fighting, some people call it. And so you can kind of see at different angles that the stairs here are going to be fighting with the same layer as this hill here. And the reason this happened is we put it on the wrong layer. So what we want to do is undo this with the undo button, go to the right layer, and overwrite this hill. And so it's very important to keep track of what layer you're doing stuff on so that you don't have Z fighting or Z clipping. And so now it replaces those and it looks much more seamless. And so you always want to zoom in, kind of angle around and see if anything starts clipping through each other. This is something that happens, I've been mapping for over a year now, and this still happens to me sometimes. And let's make this float up in the air a little bit. So let's make this at layer 6. Great, so now we have this floating platform over here. And the reason I want to do this is I want to demonstrate something important to you, and that is what stuff is walkable and what is not. So once we have this map here, we're going to want to click save, and we're going to want to make a new folder, and I'm just going to call this tutorial, and it's basically going to save everything you need in one spot. We're going to call this tutorial. And that's it. Because we have this 3D model does not mean it's usable in game yet. The next thing you're going to need to do is go up here and click on collisions editor. And so this is going to be the actual properties of the tiles that we're going to be importing into the game. So first we're going to go to collision right here. And the ones you're going to want to look at are the 80, the 04, and the 00. The other ones you don't really use. So go to 80 and we're going to paint over any tile that we don't want the player to walk on. So any of these mountainous looking areas, any of these rocks here, and you can change the opacity to see them better if you need to. I prefer to turn the opacity down a little bit. So we're going to hover over all these rocks, and then we're going to paint over these trees, and we're just going to do the outline because there's that quick fill option that we have with the middle click. So we're going to middle click, and there we go. Boom. And if you need to undo here, you have to click the undo button. You can't hit Control Z for some reason, but that's just something you should know. There's also this grass sound, and so this gives the player some sound effects when they walk around, and you really want to use this because otherwise it sounds really weird when they're walking around. It feels really empty. Okay, so we don't want to have sound effects when we're stepping on the flowers. That's just my opinion. And the next thing we're going to want to do is give the grass some encounters. So if we just leave this grass as it is, nothing's going to happen. But if we click on O2 under the type, that's the tall grass. And so this will animate that little like animation where you step over the grass, and it will also give a % chance for an encounter to start. So once you're done with that, we're also going to want to do the BDHC terrain editor. And so this looks a little bit different. This actually tells you what height you are able to walk on. And this is really important. You need to do this every time you make a map. It's a little bit tedious, but that's okay. So the next thing you want to do is take a look at what this 3D model looks like and compare it to where the plates are. So you'll notice as I drag this to the right and down, it moves over here. And it's one height too low, and so we're just going to go over to the Z coordinate and click up. And now you'll notice that it lays perfectly on top of this little plateau area. And we're going to want to make sure we have plates everywhere that the player can walk. And so you can be a little bit lazy with these if you have good tile collisions. So I'm just going to add a bunch of these together, and we're going to just drag them to make sure the whole map has plates on it. And you'll notice that it doesn't really matter that I go past these tree lines because they're not walkable anyway. And so you can be a little bit lazy with how you place them. And I usually am because it saves a lot of time. So going through and adding all these plates, and since I don't need to have anything in the tree line, I can actually just skip that. The last thing we need to do is somehow connect these two things together here, this plateau and this bottom area. And so what we want to do here is add a new plate, and we're going to drag this over and make sure that it overlaps the entire staircase here. And now we're going to want to change the type to stairs up, and that will make it angled 45 degrees upwards. And so when you walk on it, it will look totally natural, and you'll walk right up the stairs. And that's all there really is to it. So now you're going to want to X out of that and hit save. Saves both your collisions and your terrains. So now there's a couple steps we need to take. First, we need to export this as an OBJ object, and so we're going to just click OBJ, and we're just going to leave everything checked as normal and hit OK. And we're just going to save it as tutorial.obj. Okay, great, done. Now we're going to want to go to IMD, and we're going to select this tutorial object, and we're going to say, okay, let's export it as an IMD file, and then it's going to say, okay, done. And then we're going to take this IMD file, and we're going to export it as an NSBMD, and this is what the G3 converter thing is going to do for us. And it'll say successfully converted if you have the G3 converter in the right folder. Okay, so now once we have all those things, we're going to need another application called DSPRE. If you haven't used DSPRE before, I've detailed it in other videos on how to get started with it, and I highly recommend you watch those first. Open up the latest version 1.10.1. And the idea here is to add this map to a different part of our game. So we're going to open our ROM that we're working on. I'm going to actually go into a HeartGold fresh ROM, and I already have some edits on this, so I'm just going to open it up and say yes. Okay, so we're going to go into our matrix editor here, and we're going to find the right map header and map file for the area we want. So I'm going to do Route 29 since it's right next to New Barktown. So I'm going to go over to the map header that corresponds to that, and that's just header 33. And that takes us to this header here. We're going to go back to matrix editor, and we're going to also click on map files, and then we're going to click on the same area, and that's going to give us this area to work with. So you'll probably recognize this if you've ever played HeartGold or SoulSilver before. So let's go into move permissions and click import permissions. And now we're going to want to find where we saved all of our other stuff. Let's go into our tutorial folder, and you'll see that there's this 0000 permissions file. If you have a map that has multiple different maps associated with it, so let's say you had more than just this 132 by 32 area, you'll notice that there are different coordinates here. These coordinates give which map you're looking at. So if I were to go draw something here, you'll notice I'm at coordinate -10, and these coordinates will change after you save and export a map, so just be sure to check which is which. And so right now I'm on 00 here, and so we're going to be opening the 00 permissions. Great, and now we're going to also want to import the 3D model, and don't worry, this is going to look really weird at first. So we're going to import the NSBMD, and it looks really weird, don't worry, we're going to fix that in just a second. And we want to import the BDHC because we haven't implemented the BDH cam routine yet by MikeLan. So we're going to do all that. We're going to click save this bin. You always want to click save this bin once you're done importing stuff. So we're going to import those three things. We didn't change any sound plates, so we don't need to worry about that right now, but otherwise we would just do that the same way. Let's actually take a look at why this is so messed up. So right now, it's referencing the wrong textures because we haven't exported our texture list. If you ever played Minecraft, for instance, you have a texture pack for every block in the game. And right now, we're looking at the wrong texture pack. So let's remedy that real quick. Let's go into our NSBTX editor, and we're going to want to find which area data corresponds to the area that we are looking at. So let's go back to our headers, and if we look at our map and tile set area data, it just says it's area data 2. So what we're going to want to do is make something that looks a little bit like area data 2 ourselves. So we're going to go into NSBTX editor and scroll to area data 2. And you'll notice that it has these 3 pieces of information associated with it. The map textures, the building textures, the global animation textures. These 3 things are basically the texture pack that this area of the game is using. And so what we want to do is make one that's pretty similar to this. And so first thing we need to do is get our NSBTX. And so we haven't done that yet actually, so let's go ahead and learn how to do that. You'll notice that all 6 of these things are outlined in blue, and you can actually change what they're outlined in, and this changes which area you're in. And so you'll notice this one's pink now because I changed it to pink, and this basically separates these to different areas with each unique texture pack. So right now we're going to keep them all the same texture pack since they're all going to be for the same area of the game, and we're really only just changing this one piece right here, and so it's just area 0, and then you'll want to go over to this BTX export, and this just exports this whole area and its textures. So we'll hit OK, and now you'll see a list of textures here, and they're different assigned palettes. So we're going to need this, and it's really simple. Just hit export on the area data. Great, hit OK, and now we're going to go back into our NSBTX editor, and we're going to scroll all the way down, and we're going to click Add NSBTX. And so what this does is it creates a dummy texture pack at the very bottom, and then we're just going to replace it with the new one that we just generated. So we're going to hit Replace and click on Area 0, or whatever area you want to use for yours, and boom, now all of our textures are here. And so now we have our Gen 5 textures in our HeartGold and SoulSilver game. So now what we're going to want to do is create a new area data associated with this, but we also want to copy the building textures and the global animation textures references. So this is 0 and 0, and we want to make a new area data that, let's make a new area data here, area data 106. We want map textures that are 106. So this is our new area data that we just made. So this is a reference to this texture pack right here. And we already said we want building textures to be 0, and we want our global animations to be also 0, so 106, 0, 0. We're going to click Save Area Data. We made this new area data conglomerate of map textures, building textures, and global animations, and now we're going to go back to our header editor for Route 29, and we are going to edit this area data to say 106. And click Save this header, and we're going to reopen this using the matrix editor. So go to matrix editor and click on this area, and there we go. Now it looks perfectly normal. So now that we're done with this, unfortunately part of the game is going to look weird because we changed the area data for this entire map header. So you'll notice we're in map header 33. This area and this area are both going to look really strange, and so let's go ahead and see why that is. It's going to look like this for one of these areas because this is trying to grab our Gen 5 texture pack for a Gen 4 game. And so we're going to need to also redo this area eventually, but I'll leave that up to you. So anyway, let's hit Save ROM, and we're just going to call this mapping tutorial.nds. So you're just going to save that with DSPRE, and you'll see it says repacking narcs. This can take a while when you've inserted a lot of maps. And just give it a second, and I will show you what it looks like. Alright, so we've finally gotten in-game, and you'll notice that this map isn't loading for us. And there's a reason for this, and it's because there's no gate between these 2 areas that normally use the same area data. So let's actually go back and look in DSPRE why this is the case. And so let's go back into our matrix editor, and we'll see these map headers real quick. So you'll notice that Newbark Town is 060, and this uses area data 2. So this is the old area data we used to use. And we're going to want to also look at this header. This is now area data 106. You'll notice that these 2 area datas are different and we don't have any sort of warp between them. So you'll probably remember if we walk far enough into this, using our walk through walls cheat, that there are things called root gates. So if you ever walk through root gate, it will reload the area that you're in. Now, this thing looks all white and weird, but this area, oh my Lord have mercy. So I forgot something that was pretty important when it comes to making maps in HeartGold and SoulSilver, and that was that the first 8 materials are always animated, and I just have had the normal animation stuff in my editor for a while, so I forgot this was even a thing. So to avoid having your trees animated like you just saw, you're going to want to make sure your water tiles, you want to have your C Zanimai 1 and 2 in the 2nd and 3rd slots, as well as the Mizu C in the 5th and 6th slots, and then I just put a bunch of dummy water stuff that I'm not going to use into those slots that they're not animated. I should also mention that these first 8 textures here should always be included in the IMD. So once you do this, you're going to want to hit X, and you're going to hit save, and then just re-export the map that you're interested in putting in the game, and I will show you that this thing works now. So just export the NSBMD again, so go through that same process I just showed you. This looks so bad, oh my goodness. Even the flowers are animated. We're going to import NSBMD, we're going to go import, and import our map back in, and we're going to hit save bin. We're going to go back here and click save ROM, and just overwrite the mapping tutorial. And so let's go see how that looks. So once again, we see this problem where we have this weird transition. The way to fix this is actually making a new map for New Bark Town, and then also giving it the same area data. So this is a problem because we haven't done the area data for everything, and we haven't made a map for everything in this zone. And so let's just reload this map to take a quick look at what it's going to look like. Great, so now all of our trees aren't animated anymore, and we can walk around and observe our handiwork. And you'll notice that these map borders look all weird because the areas around them haven't been filled in yet with the same area data texture pack. So obviously once you make the full map that you want to insert, you'll do that piece by piece. You won't have these weird white lines anymore. So this is just a beginner tutorial. So this is just one map you can make, and let's just show that the grass works. And I'm probably gonna die because I don't have a Pokemon here, so it's gonna be a Sentret just because that's what it is in vanilla, and I send out my missing no and I can't escape and I'm gonna die, so that's great. But that is how you make your first map, and that's how you also insert it. I hope this helped you make your first map. If you have any questions about the steps I went over, or other hacking things in general, please let me know in the comments, and I'd also appreciate if you dropped a subscribe if this helped you, because I'll be making more tutorials like this on mapping and other things in HG Engine in the coming future, and also be updating you with my own hacks that I've been making. So I've been SoulSilver, and I'll see you in the next video. Peace.